This is a Nerf blaster. Well, not the dart itself. The blaster is inside the dart, because this is the world's first self-firing Nerf dart. And this is the world's second self-firing Nerf dart. That's right, in just 10 days, my brother and I performed countless ridiculous tests and endured dozens of catastrophic failures in order to achieve the goal of inventing not one, but two ways for a Nerf dart to fire itself. And the reactions we got are priceless.
What the?
Now, in case the appeal of this idea isn't obvious to you, let me pitch you a quick scenario. You're slithering through a war-torn suburban jungle. You're a lean, mean nerfing machine who operates with extreme prejudice. Suddenly, you encounter an inferior combatant. Instinct immediately takes over, and you achieve another flawless victory. But what if, in a crazy turn of events, it's you who finds yourself held captive at the end of a plastic barrel? You hand over your weapon, but when asked to surrender munitions as well, a smile slowly creeps to your lips as your enemy finds that the tables have turned. Okay, so maybe it's a bit juvenile, but this is the fantasy that we've been sold for years by Nerf and just about every other toy weapon manufacturer. And it's no surprise. Pop culture and history alike celebrate the clever combatant, the one whose brains are able to outstrip any brawn. And the cleverest among them always have an ace up their sleeve, because the most effective weapon of all is to be underestimated. And what could be less threatening than a lone foam dart? And more of a threat than needing no gun to fire it. The concept was so simple, but would the reality even be possible to build? At least for a couple of guys in a basement? There's only one way to find out.
Basically, what we need to miniaturize is this. How much does it hurt?
You want to find out?
Yeah, actually, here.
Alright, there's a little bit of a curve.
Turns out that a CO2 bike tire inflator makes a quick, fun, tiny Nerf gun. But now we needed to figure out a way to get pressure, handle, and activation switch all into something much, much smaller.
I like this back button.
Well, the back button's great, but yeah, I mean, the whole mechanism is huge.
Now, I say huge, but it's really not. At least not when you compare it with the smallest gun that Nerf makes. And you have to manually push the plunger to fire that one. What are we, barbarians? But it really does paint a picture of just what we're up against. Not only do you need enough force to push a dart across a room, but you need a reliable way to hold and activate it, all with it still looking almost identical to a regular Nerf dart. And to be fair, it's not like my brother and I are not smart or anything. It's just that it's not like we're also not, stupid. Now, when it came to powering the darts, we had three major categories: spring, compressed air, and combustion. But spending day after day blowing up Nerf darts gets expensive. So here's how you can power yourself with today's sponsor, Factor. Factor sends ready-to-eat meals straight to your door with a variety of nutritious options to suit your unique lifestyle. Whether keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus. Not only are they cheaper than takeout, but they'll be ready faster too, because they only take 2 minutes to heat and are never frozen. Factor's meals were a huge help this week. We were so busy that I barely even had time to film them before they were eaten. And knowing that I had quick and tasty options waiting in my fridge made it that much easier to avoid the temptation to grab fast food. We were even able to postpone our big grocery trip, which allowed us to focus on more important stuff. Factor is actually now owned by HelloFresh, so there's a delicious choice for every taste and time constraint. My favorite Factor meal was the garlic mushroom chicken thighs, and the smoothies were a massive hit.
Oh, what?
Isn't that good? So head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code JoelCreates50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Thanks, Factor. Now, I'm not sure whether to start with air pressure or spring power, because a normal Nerf gun kinda uses both. A spring-loaded plunger creates a sudden surge of air pressure, which builds inside of the dart until it overcomes environmental forces like friction and flies off the tube it was mounted on. Now, of course, there are semi-automatic Nerf guns that use spinning wheels to grip and throw the outside of the dart, but we need to fit our power source into a tiny 1/4-inch inner diameter. So the only wheels we'll be using are these old bike tire tubes, because the Presta valves on them fit perfectly inside of a dart.
A good diameter for this.
By attaching a tube and end cap to the other end, we've created a tiny pressure chamber, and all we would have to do to fire it is find a way to press the valve from the inside.
Oh, it burst it like immediately.
Easier said than done.
These things cannot handle much pressure.
But even if we could find a way to open the valve,
A second piece of tube that goes in that you're pushing over the first, this is dumb.
we quickly found that pressurizing such a tiny tube is incredibly difficult.
There's 100, let's see what happens when we open it.
Oh, what?
There was a little bit in there.
No matter how we filled it, we couldn't get meaningful pressure, and I think it's because the Presta valve couldn't close quickly enough to capture such a small volume of air.
Dude, I mean, I know it's only been one day, but...
Now, when frustrated, some people throw in the towel. But for us, we just started to throw in the explosives.
Welcome to my backyard. It's -5 Fahrenheit. We're gonna test this. Should I shoot it at you?
No.
First, we put crushed match heads into a tube to try and make a rocket. And once we actually got it to ignite, it made little thrust without a nozzle and generated too much heat for the foam.
No thrust, and it melted it.
Even with rocket engine powder and a double-layer tube with insulation barrier, it still sucked. But a rocket isn't the only incendiary option. All we need is a momentary combustive expansion of gas, kind of like a cannon. This tiny and ugly brass cannon uses the piezoelectric spark generator from a lighter to ignite whatever fuel is in the tank. Supposedly. And when hairspray didn't work, we tried butane.
Are you reaching a point where you're starting to doubt that this is quite as easy as I thought it was?
Yes.
This is the best I've got, and it doesn't even work. And then what, you built your little air guy, but it only holds enough air to go But I do have an ace in the hole, gasoline in a syringe.
Now, I know I don't have to say this, but please don't try any of this at home.
You ready for this?
Yep.
There's gasoline in here, and it's making a spark. Why won't it ignite?
Now, this wasn't the end of our explosive testing, but thankfully, it was the start of our spring testing.
It's our most successful test yet.
And after surprisingly little back and forth, we finally had our first major breakthrough.
You did it?
I did it. We did it.
What?
This design uses a nail, a spring, and a piece of aluminum tube. The nail has a notch near the top that catches on a bent section of the tubing. The side of the nail head that you press on changes whether it tilts towards the catch or away from it. To fire, all you do is press on the release side to arm it, then open your 2 fingers and let her fly.
That is a self-firing Nerf dart.
That is absolutely a self-firing Nerf dart.
It was so simple. It might not have been insanely powerful, at least not with our limited spring selection, but certainly more than enough for a close encounter. And with the addition of a nylon washer on the back, if you didn't know it was there at a glance, you'd probably never notice it. Now that's cool, but what if I told you we were able to make something significantly smaller, significantly more powerful, and all made possible by these little blue capacitors? You see, the main problem with tiny cannons, tiny rockets, and really anything almost entirely contained inside of a Nerf dart is activation.
How do you activate the air release, or the fuse, or the spring with a tiny little dart with no space inside of it for anything except for wishes and dreams? You like that one?
A rocket Nerf dart is easy enough to launch when you can carry around a lighter that's bigger than the dart itself. But how do you make it work with just a tiny button? The spark generator, for example, is huge, hard to press, and couldn't even ignite match powder. And even if you found a working button, how would you press it and still let the dart fly? That was the problem we ran into when we tried activating bottle rockets with a side switch.
Well, it worked.
It works. That was so fast. I think I needed to get a little more of a delay, maybe.
A hot, flammable, ergonomic failure? Yes, but those tests were the first major triumph of the capacitor-based ignition system.
Oh, what? What?
Capacitors are like batteries that can dump all their power at once. So where long-lasting button cell batteries were too weak to power a heating element, these 1 farad 3-volt capacitors could make it red hot for a split second, and that's all we needed.
Well, that and flash cotton.
After all the testing, revisions, and day after day of failed, melted darts, something pretty special happened.
This is the launcher.
Bad?
First, let me just make sure that it actually works. Woo! So basically, we take some flash cotton, stick it in, and we put it right into the bag.
The flash cotton burns super fast. This produces a rapid expansion of gas and very little excess heat. So you actually only need a tiny amount. Too much and the dart will burst. Or you can prevent bursting by wrapping the outside of the dart with 1 layer of packing tape. Sometimes the excess cotton would even eject out the back, creating a massive fireball. The capacitor has a switch on the back that you press to send its power to a tiny heating element on the tip. And though it's definitely tedious to build, it can be recharged in seconds and reused dozens of times before the heating element needs replacing. This thing is so insanely small that you can barely even hold it, and once again, hardly noticeable, which made it that much more satisfying to test on my friends. I have invented a new Nerf gun.
Okay.
Are you ready to see it?
You know I'm ready to see it.
This is my new Nerf gun.
You're missing a few components there.
That's the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is my Nerf gun.
That's the gun.
It's like, you know how you usually lose all the darts? You lost all the gun.
That's the
Don't you believe me?
Wait,
What the hell? How did you do that?
that is pretty cool.
Of course, that's just one revision.
Oh,
I also have this right here.
okay. Why are you backing up?
Oh!
Ah!
That was very threatening. I like that a lot.
That's all that is. Then you put flash cotton in there.
Oh, that's nifty.
So of course, anyone with a shred of inner child is going to love these. But how far do they fire? Now, while the spring dart only got around 20 feet, the capacitor dart forced us to go outside, where we fired 2 different types of Nerf guns for comparison. Whoa! After David meticulously checked the distances, at 44 feet, the world's tiniest Nerf gun was hitting surprisingly close to the big guys. And our cotton amount and loading methods were certainly not exhaustive. So, with more time, who knows how far it could really go. So in the realm of Nerf for nothing, turns out that sometimes nothing is really something. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.